Hey guys, welcome back to the recap. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about MOGO, EQ, PHUN. Are we going to see some sort of reversals? Well, actually reversals on MOGO and PHUN on these because they're pulling back quite a bit, seeing some big support. And actually during the recap, I think I might have missed two nice entries on both of those. And then EQ, big runner on Monday, big short squeeze, I believe. And then, it was easy to borrow. So I want to review EQ a little bit today because right now we're at yesterday's high. Are we going to hold these areas? And maybe are we going to see a break back above, what was that, $20 zone? I don't know. We'll review it a little bit in the charts. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. Obviously, we're going to be reviewing the trades that I made today. Nothing really crazy, kind of a small, simple day. It was a little bit scattered today in the markets. We didn't get, clean fall throughs except maybe on GE, NE, which I wasn't even really looking at first. So it was kind of like yesterday where we were a little bit all over the place, kind of checking out different tickers back and forth because the lead gappers didn't perform as hot as we would have liked. All right, guys, let's get ready to go to the charts. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy the content. Subscribe if you're new. We go live every morning at 9:15 a.m. to first review the watch list and then trade the market open. Love to see you there. Off to the charts now. All right, so before we get started here, before we get started here, let me actually make sure my microphone's on. What is going on with GENE today? I mean, absolutely killing it. And you guys calling it out in the chat room were totally right. Yeah, this stock all of a sudden became the lead gapper on the day. Was not really expecting it. Was a bit of a late bloomer, and now it's really just constantly pushing it here. PHUN is below 1.4. I want to actually kind of keep an eye on that one. Let's go back here. So GEN, hold on, I gotta write this down. Too many things just happened at once. PHUN could be a really good dip buy, 1.4 below dip. I'm gonna quickly write that down. Okay, so GENE, yeah, so this one was, it was on our gap scanner. It was moving up here about 42%, was kind of pulling back, and then, it was, there was a lot of other movers that was a little bit more interesting, I guess you can say. But once we popped, back above here, above VWAP, buying this, quick 1 minute pullback could have been a good entry. And then this thing just shot really nicely, 18-20% move right here. Another nice VWAP bounce, which I probably would have not traded, but I probably would have traded this one if I saw it. I don't know. It was a tough one to trade in terms of, you actually had to be there at the right times unless you were swing trading it, obviously. Because the way it's been moving today was like at no point was it like a quick explosive move besides maybe like here, like I said before. But when we were back above 3.5, above the 9-minute EMA, this one just, constantly had these nice pullbacks and then breakouts. And then pullbacks and breakouts. Also, good volume chart here, on the sell volume, a little bit lower, descending volume, then it breaks out higher. So overall, pretty nice move on GENE. Yeah, what can I say? I didn't really feel super comfortable trading it because to me, it felt like it's had many of these moves to the upside that just didn't really work out too well. It has a float under 10 million. I think it is under 10 million. Coronavirus manufacturing news. So macro news, micro trend, really good stuff. Let me quickly go back to the charts over here. It just had a lot of these days where it would, pull up a bit and then sell off, pull up a bit, sell off, pull up a bit and sell off. And, like I said, at this 3.5 zone would have been probably the most favorable time for me to trade it, and then probably the break of 4. But I don't know, actually not the break of 4, the break of 3.5 and then trading it up till 4. I don't know. I guess I really dropped the ball on GENE a little bit. But you know what? Every day, especially as a day trader, I mean, there's like 1,000 opportunities you miss. And you, at one point, stop having some sort of FOMO about that. It's totally okay to miss moves as long as you get a few good ones and you get aggressive when it counts. So today, we're ending up the day, $67. Not really too bad. Kind of an okay day. Yesterday, we ended the day at 50, but then I traded in the afternoon. We got to 100. On Monday, we ended the day with like $10 profit. So, slow week overall, no big days, but we're kind of maintaining it. It's been a little bit of a weird week, I gotta say. Sometimes pre-market is super hot and then morning sells off. And then, today was just all over the place, different tickers. So yeah, it is what it is. Let's just talk about the losers first, starting with CANF, and then we'll check out some of these other tickers that I would like to maybe even think about trading today. CANF, it was one of the lead gappers, huge breakout here, up about, 50% pre-market, and actually bought this bigger dip pre-market. This was looking pretty good. But then I was like, I want to see it break 220. 220 was getting chipped away hard, and I sold my position right here, pulled all the way down to like 216 or 215. At least I didn't stop out at the, at the worst spot and then take a bigger loss, like a 4 or 5% loss. But right afterwards, pops up again here, pops up again here, 24% or so, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I was waiting for this one to break past the high of 2.7 one last time, and then I would have entered it, but it kept on selling off, and that's a big reason I didn't trade it all day. It's actually the most linear sell-off I've seen in a while. We had this one little spike here to the upside, didn't really feel like chasing it or anything like that, and good thing I didn't. Maybe I'll trade this as we break $2 and maybe find some support, but I don't know. Again, I'm not really, super stoked on this one. I feel like this one's very similar to GENE in the terms of, it's constantly trying to break out higher, and then it kind of starts selling off again. At the moment, GENE, is holding its highs pretty well. So this could be a really interesting setup here for maybe even a trade for tomorrow. Maybe it's going to have a second green day with this kind of big news on it. I don't know. Let's keep going here, review the trades, and keep an eye out for what we might want to be trading in the afternoon. So let's go to, this is tough. Let's just start with IMMP because this was a quick accidental trade, and I'll get this one out of the way. So IMMP was actually really, really funny. Pre-market, this thing starts, gapping up here right at the market open at 7 o'clock, and I'm like playing around with the order book, and randomly I execute 500 shares, but only a small amount get filled, and I close this position out right away. So this was a total mistake trade. It was just it was so ridiculous. I had auto send on. I didn't think I had auto send on, and I got an execution. I didn't really want this one, but IMMP was, pulling up here 100% pre-market. And I was like, okay, there could be a chance we break above 2, which actually did happen. But yeah, didn't really want this one, so there's really not much to talk about. It was a pure accident trade. Let's go ahead, talk about MOGO. This is one of those tickers that I'm actually looking out for a possible move in the afternoon. And the reason was, okay, you know what? I take that back already. I was just about to say, and the reason I'm looking at MOGO for a possible trade in the afternoon is because it was holding this kind of 18175 zone the whole time. And I was like, okay, this is actually looking kind of good. Maybe it's going to start breaking back above VWAP. Now I see it's not, in the long-term chart looking pretty sloppy as well. So, okay, I probably won't be trading it anymore. Just a little notification. I was actually really thinking we were, going to see a break back higher. This is why on the live stream, when you guys are asking me, Alex, are you gonna, what do you think about holding this ticker overnight? What do you think about this one? I don't know, because I wanted to know how it closes, how it's ending the day, how it's holding its high. So it's really, really important to see how a stock plays out. Knowing how a stock opens in the morning doesn't really give you that much information. It's a very small part of the story. So right now we are seeing some big support here at 1.5. So maybe some support bounce in this area could be a good little dip buy. I mean, these dips and bounces are pretty strong. So I will keep an eye on this one. Maybe a break of 1.5 I would buy. And then at 147 or so, or I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. It looks like my alert's about to go off again. But MOGO is another ticker I definitely want to be looking at. MOGO dip. So let's see. And then we have, of course, the extremely popular EQ that we've been following very, very closely. And there goes the alert on MOGO. Great. So EQ out of the gates, huge run up, and this is the big runner from Monday. This is the one that went really exponential. Started off, I think, the day before at like 350 or so. Let me just see if we can get these tickers out of the way. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the day before, such a big change here. At 344 was the close, and then let's scroll back here, and actually what I like to do sometimes is actually go to the hourly chart and then kind of look at this one a little bit. It gives me a little bit better perspective. So this is Monday, and then today we had a pretty decent little kind of breakout move here. So let's kind of talk about this move. We were seeing some, pulling back to support. I go ahead and enter this one near VWAP. I should have held this one way longer, but I entered a little bit too soon and we were still pulling back, and I'm not a big fan of VWAP bounces unless it's like a quick breakout trade, something like this. So I basically just closed my position. I thought we were going to maybe touch the EMA at 1760 and then maybe break VWAP. So that was my thesis, and since it was so slow, I just kind of closed out this position. It was more or less a scratch. But now, because EQ is holding its highs pretty well, this is something maybe to consider for another trade. Now, there's a few things I'm not super convinced about EQ, and let's go back to the daily and kind of talk about this one. This is, it didn't IPO that long ago in 2018, and I didn't see any warrants on this one. So I'm hoping that there's not going to be any sort of, dilution or whatnot, but they could still come out with news that they, have a shelf offering or something like that to dilute the stock and to, take advantage of the big price increase, which definitely could happen. So that's one thing I'm very, very weary about going into this one. We did break over the yesterday's high though, just a little bit, and we're kind of holding this area okay. So maybe if we hold this area and we keep holding this and we don't really pull back below 15 or so, this could be a bit of a move back above 20 and see if we can retest some of these areas pre-market. So that could be an interesting way to trade this one. Here's exactly what I was talking about actually. Open market share sale. Yep. Okay. So, same day following moving sign market sell agreement with Jeffries and plans to shelter from the time to time. Yeah. So this is exactly what you have to worry about. These shares being dumped into the market, new sales, dilution, things like that. It's really kind of aggressive for shareholders, and it usually dumps the price quite a bit because you don't know how much a company is going to do that, take advantage of the high price, and constantly push the stock price back down. So I don't know. That's really what I'm weary about right now. So I don't think I'm going to really hold this one into overnight. If this one dipped off below VWAP, I would probably be buying it in the 16s, maybe at the 15s. But I don't know if I would hold that into overnight. Maybe I would consider doing that in my Roth IRA account, which I usually give a bit longer of a grace period for. So I would consider holding that for a few days. One thing that's kind of interesting about this ticker that I do want to talk about a little bit longer is the fact that Monday, it was easy to borrow. So you can see here at the top of TOS, it says hard to borrow. And then sometimes it says NTB, which is none to borrow. And then sometimes it says easy to borrow. And that means there's a lot of probably people taking short positions on it because it's easy to borrow. Because right now, if I try to short sell this one, I don't think it would even let me execute my position here. Let's see, we're at 18.20. Let me just go here. Okay, so yeah, share is not currently available to short, so I can't even short this if I wanted to. Monday was available to short, and I think that's a big reason the squeeze happened, because anyone who finally wanted to short could have shorted for the first time on EQ, and this big spike was probably people getting short squeezed and having to cover their position. So this is really something to be a little bit cautious about if you're short, and something to think about, maybe if you're long, maybe it's actually time to load up a little bit and see if there's going to be a bit of a short squeeze because we are holding our highs here pretty well. And another good indicator that you're holding your highs well is the fact that there's not a lot of sell volume going down, especially on the second day. This was just a little bit of a dip. It's kind of like when you're, intraday, you're looking at the 1 minute candle and you have these nice little moves that, you're breaking out and you have little pullbacks, breakout, pullback, breakout, pullback. That's a little bit what we're seeing here. We have a breakout and a little pullback with light volume. If this was a huge red volume candle, I would be very, very weary. But since it was light volume, actually, it could be a really interesting move. And I would probably really consider buying this one at some point. It is really hard to say. I would probably, ideally, if I had my favorite, or if I could really pick and choose, I would like to trade this one as it starts breaking higher and turning it into a nice exponential run like this. And I would start trying to trade it in the afternoon and then be done with it overnight, so I don't have to worry about holding it my position overnight on EQ. But yeah, we could look at it a lot. I'll be interested to see what you guys leave in the comments below and see how this thing wraps up on the day. For sure, there's big support above 10. $10-12 seems to be huge support, so I think it's going to take a little bit to crack that, and I think those could be really good buying areas. You got to remember though, if some catalyst comes out, this thing could really fall off a cliff. So that's kind of the big risk that we're dealing with right now. But at the moment we're at all-time highs on EQ, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much this can run. The fact that it was the hot ticker on Monday and we're still talking about it is already kind of a rare event on its own. So I think it's definitely worth discussing a little bit. Just really quickly before we wrap up here, JRJC was one of our lead gapper today actually, and this one, I was really careful about this one. I was kind of not watching it pre-market too much, so I missed this whole pre-market run up to $31, and then at no point did I really feel comfortable in this area. I should have kind of been a bit aware that we started forming a bit of a rounded bottom here, but this breakout, it was nice, but then it had such mean flushes, and I really didn't want to get stuck in any flushes, so it was good that I probably avoided this one, because these flushes could have just as easily happened in this area as it happened down here. So I think overall avoiding JRJC was probably the right decision for me, which is a little depressing, because this one, was really nice, was pretty clean pre-market between the $20, $25, and $30 zone. It had the lowest float on the day, the 2 million float. Chinese capital market company with a partnership with Dow Jones, and they are now serving market data to China, and they're hoping to kind of expand that quite a bit. So it just, it was a really nice ticker with a good low float, with good catalyst, but all the action happened pre-market. And I was not really watching it in this area. And then when I came, getting ready to start the live stream, I was like, oh God, we missed the whole move on JRJC. So that was a bit upsetting. Would have been kind of fun to trade some dips here, some really quick dips in the market open. But yeah, it was tough. It was very quick mover. I almost actually bought this as we broke the 9-minute EMA. And good thing I didn't, because who knows if I would have, sold here at like a 5% profit or so. Actually, this would have been an 8-9% profit. So maybe I would have. But, this flush in just 3 candles goes down 21%. So big risk on JRJC. And anytime it tickers up, 300% pre-market, you can pretty much expect that there's going to be a very volatile open, especially with some aggressive flushes to the downside. And I'm not really trying to trade those with breakouts. All right, guys, that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys are going to do with any sort of swing trading. Are you going to trade MOGO? Are you going to trade EQ? Are you going to trade PHUN, which is finding some support here below 1.4? Let me know. I'd be super interested to hear what you guys are up to. Don't forget to drop a like, guys, if you enjoy the content. And if you're totally new here, definitely consider subscribing. I'd love to see you again. Till next time, guys, stay safe and make some awesome trades. Ciao, ciao.